Hudson is the Chief Possibilities Officer at Purple Marketing. Purple Marketing is a boutique authority marketing agency that works with individuals and teams, helping them discover their personal path of least resistance to wealth creation and write their story of how they create difference for their customers. Giselle describes herself as both artistic and analytical. A messenger, storyteller, musician, artist, poet, songwriter, speaker, copywriter, and author. Always an entrepreneur with a bishop's girl soul and the heart of a pilgrim. Giselle is a licensed facilitator with MCO. According to Giselle, her gift has always been in seeing potential and in understanding people. She wants to help people reap the potent promise of entrepreneurship and show people that they can truly be successful by being who they are at every level. Designing and creating a business in such a way that you continually expand your freedom in the areas of time, money, relationship, and purpose. I think this is a great this interview is a great segue to our discussion, because what we were discussing this morning is my interviews that I've been doing that I just started in January, and the team, being Rendell and Melina, very passionate about my interviews, and they think everyone who's come has had great content, and they think a lot more people should see it, and I am totally on board. But it's possible that I'm not what seems to be what does really well, which is a very aggressive jackhammer type business person, and I think it seems like I don't really excel in that forte, so possibly that's preventing it from getting out to as many people as...
Or maybe not.
Which is what I was saying. Exactly.
I think there's a natural flu. I was thinking about that this morning, because I had so many shoulds, in terms of getting ready, getting prepared, and I should be doing this. And then I stopped myself. I was like, there's no should. Because should, it forces that voice out, your voice, the real voice, the real you. And so you don't really hear it. So when you start to should, that this should be a particular way, or it should go there, or from the time you start to strategize from the outside in, it becomes burdensome and very dense, and when we are talking about that fluidity, you don't know how things are gonna evolve, organically. It just goes the way it's meant to grow, not that it should be, because there's so many people with all these formulas and telling you that you need to do this and get this and this amount of likes. And the funny thing is, what I found, when it seems like the feedback is silent, it's the most profound. Because people don't want to identify, they don't want to put their hands up and say, yeah, there's me. No, there are some topics that, we could all sort of like get into. It's like, yeah, people need to hear about that. However, when it comes too close to home, it's like, maybe I shouldn't put up my hand for this, because then people will kind of start to look at me and think, she has an issue. So it's like, just do. I think the most important thing, and that's a lot, I guess, in my work, it's like, do you. Whatever you are led to do that, not with any expectation. It's hard because we are so driven by a world that, it's sort of driven by feedback, likes and shares, and it doesn't really matter. Once you are doing that, because you have been gifted with, so many things to birth. Don't die with the music in you, just do it. Just do it. It doesn't matter. Because, it's like the person who's been writing, and they've been writing forever, and one book that, the general public says, well, yes, this is good. And then you find that they go back to all the books that would have been rejected, and those become bestsellers, so like after the fact. So imagine that you would think that this isn't good. And let's say you decide, I'm going to shut down these interviews like now, because this isn't working, there's so much uncertainty out there, but it's so, it's so much adventure.
Yeah.
Just open yourself to it.
Yeah. You're such a magical person. You're so magic. I'm really curious as to if you think that you were like just born like a magical person, or if you think that there are very specific things that happened or that you did that really helped this blossom.
When I was young, maybe my early working years, I was in touch with that. I was in touch with myself, and then I lost it, and it was like very, very dark, for a long time. And then I'm now, kind of reconnecting with that. Again, because you sort of shelve who you are, for what they tell you should be, and so I lost myself completely. And I think sometimes it has to happen. It's like I know my path has to be like deeply experiential. So I could never be a talking head, like just talking about things. I have to experience it, and sometimes I say, well, gosh, but I wish I didn't have to experience everything, because it's so excruciating at times, excruciatingly painful. But I have to. It's like, you tell. I remember years ago, my nephew was getting a tattoo, and he was asking around, about the level of pain and stuff, first time. And someone was telling him, how painful it was. And then when he asked her, to see her tattoo, she had none. And I mean, this is like, this is the world, right? So many people talking about things, but they haven't had the experience. And so they're just talking from a place of really, not knowing. So for me, I always used to think that I had a gold spoon. I was born with, a gold spoon in my mouth, because that was a sort of popular phrase when I was, growing up. So I knew, for example, when I was going to work, even though I didn't have a car, that when I got onto the main road, I would get a lift. So I just sort of like, that I invoked that, like, basically. So I would save taxi money kind of thing, but, and more times than not, a car would pull up, and it would be somebody that I knew always, and like I said, when you become so disconnected from yourself, then you lose it. When you tap back into that power, then you get it. So if you're seeing it, it means that I'm doing something, right in my favor.
So based on what you said, born magical, then I would. Yeah. But I think it's I really resonate with what you're saying. To you, have you seen online this guy Sadhguru? He has all these quotes online. And he's talking about, he did said some phrase which really speaks to that, which is speaking directly from your experience, and really resisting the temptation to speak too knowingly, or with 100% confidence about things that you have not experienced. Because he said, in a way, it's kind of like lying. That's a bit intense. I don't know if I would say it's lying, but I think I understand what he's trying to say. And I think a lot of what I'm doing with this show, and what I was talking about when I was shooting the video earlier, and even the feedback from the team in terms of the content and the interviewees that are here talking, is that all of the interviewees, I think they're very rich in themselves. And I think the point of that is because they all are speaking from their direct experience. And they're very in touch with the experience of their life, and they're talking directly from that. They're not parroting something they've heard. And I think that's where the richness of each individual's soul comes from, when you really connect and go through the experiences of your life, and then you speak from that place, and that's how souls get enriched. And I think that's what is coming out in the interview, in interviews with the interviewees. And I think that's also what I'm trying to, maybe I'll use the word inspire, because I think that that's where you really, I feel that everybody's really searching for a rich experience of life.
Definitely.
And I think that's really where it comes from. And so I think I'm trying to inspire that in a way for everybody to really get in touch with what's inside of them, really go through their experiences and have their soul enriched by it, and then speak from that place as much as possible.
Because once someone is speaking, like any be it me or, anybody else who's, sat in this chair before, the audience, there are people who can look in and say, that me too, not from a copycat, perspective, but from, yes, that rich experience, that's what I want to feel. I want to feel alive, because we've gotten into this very circular thinking. What we call thinking isn't really thinking. We're just going about, things that, we've packed in a bag, and over a period of time, they've become our rituals and our routines. But I even say, to say is it really your ritual or routine, or is it something that someone said that you are trying on that doesn't fit, but yet you persist, and it's, and I think that the reason is that we've lost confidence in what Emerson talked about, which is self-reliance, that ability to really be confident and, rely on you to know that this works for me, or this doesn't work for me, or I draw the line here. There's not too much of that. And what I would like to do is to get people reconnected to that themselves, to provide the guidance, the ideas, the framework, and the tools, the gift of possibility, to reconnect with who you are. And it's tricky, because I'm not doing it for you, and so I'm just giving you things for the journey, and I'm there, but I'm not, I can't, you can't even handhold that, people have to be prepared or ready to take that deep dive. And sometimes it's scary, because we've also become so attached to certainty. People, when people engage, they engage me, for example, and they want to know, okay, so in 3 weeks, what you're saying is that I will, yeah, and I can't really say that, and I used to be afraid to say that. Yeah. I wanted to, I want to give clients results, and and that's ego though. That was my ego, being all big in the dance, right? I want to give clients results, and I want to do this and get that, and it just doesn't work like that. My thing is that I don't know, and I don't know is powerful. Let's do this together. I'm convinced that once you start the journey, you'll get to that place where you feel confident in yourself. How that's going to look, I don't know. Yeah. So people are like, well, what you really selling us then? What are we really buying? And people like to tell you, well, send me a proposal and tell me what you could do for us. Nothing. All that speak.
You made me laugh. I want to do that in the future. What can you do for me? Nothing, babes. I can't do anything for you, babes.
I can't. There's nothing. There's literally nothing I can do for you. I can give you ideas. I can give you guidance. I could give you some thoughts, that you could let percolate, assimilate, see it, try it on. That's the thing. Does this fit? You remember we had the conversation, right? What do you wear? It's well, I don't want to feel uncomfortable. Right. I want to be, not thinking, because, that's the thing. You become distracted. If you're wearing something that isn't fitting well, or you are not comfortable, then you become distracted with the thing. So, you're no longer doing your work. Yeah. You're thinking, I wonder how I'm looking, boy. I wonder if this, if this fitting okay, if, and it's just not you. Yes. And that's how it is in life. We try. And so there are people, with costumes you know, parading, and I mean, it's interesting because, you know, we're in the carnival season, but yeah, you know, we do it beyond, you know, the carnival season. You know, we're parading in all these costumes that are ill-fitting, right? But we continue to parade and keep, you know, pushing. So, you know, we're not going to get results that way.
Yeah, that's just to underscore something that you said. When you said, you know, people ask you what you can do for them, and you say, nothing, you know, send you no proposal, no. Go on the website and read. You could see if I'm the person for you or not. But I just wanted to underscore that because in the context that we live in now, which you rightly said, where everybody's looking for certainty, I think there's a level of bravery and honesty that is not common in the current context in terms of telling somebody, listen, if you want me to tell you that you're going to make $1 million in 4 months or 6 months or 8 months, I can't tell you that. And I think there's a level of deep honesty there, which I find uncommon, especially when people start to operate in the business space as well. I find there's a deep level of honesty there, which speaks to me that you would have had to done a lot of digging and a lot of exploration within yourself and gone through a lot of things within yourself to be brave enough to say what is the deepest truth for you to somebody else. Mm-hmm. And I find that that's really, I really like it. I really like it. I think it's kind of uncommon now, and I think it's important to be like that, and to, even though it's not common, to still persist in being like that so that other persons can receive it and other persons can also take those steps to be more brave and to have more encounters with the unknown and to see where we're all going. I mean, I know it's and you know, it's scary. It's scary to not know. It's scary to move from where I think Trinidad has been, where somebody tells you to get a job and you get a job for 40 years or whatever it is, and you know you're going to get your pension. And I think I wouldn't pretend that I don't understand the fear in moving from that model where everything is clearly mapped out to you to a model where a lot of that framework is gone and it's a big open sea, and you have to find things in yourself that you didn't have to find before, and it's right. Like where do I find the framework in myself to navigate this place that has no rudders? You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but I really like that level of honesty and courage and being brave in the face of people who you know want you to give them a specific kind of answer.
They want an answer. But I don't believe that, like, for example, that everyone should venture out into self-employment. Yeah. You know, I mean, we talk about entrepreneurship. There are very few, you know, entrepreneurs in the true sense of that. Very many of us say we are self-employed, and yet we are not earning consistently. We're not really in business. We have a business name, and we operating in the same costume and moving around, and everybody looking at you and saying, you know, she's got it going on. And we keep looking at each other, and then we get envious and we say, wait, this person is doing this and this. And my thing is, you know, you can tap into that sense of self wherever you are. You unfortunately, what we have is in companies, their focus is on the leadership, the managers and stuff, and then they talk about lower level employees and stuff like that, as almost like if it's sort of like a caste system. You know, it's like, okay, that's not, we don't want to invest anything in them. You know, think about how sad that is. You know, but my message though is, yeah, you don't have to take that. You don't have to be, you know, a sheep in that environment. you can start taking charge of your life, and determine what's best for you wherever you are. You know, you don't have to win $1 million to do that. We could start doing that like right now, you know. But we get very sidetracked with, you know, this happened to this one and that happened to the other, and, you know, it can't happen for us.
Yeah.
And that kind of just clouds,
Yes.
you know, that prevents us from seeing clearly.
Yes. So I'm actually had a good conversation. They haven't touched any of my questions yet, and that's great. This is amazing. So I obviously did some research and stuff, and I'm really curious about how you define a Chief Possibilities Officer. It's the first time I've seen someone designate that.
Well, I think I've been, you know, gifted to see potential, and as the Chief Possibilities Officer, I mean, I have, you know, all these ideas. I see in people sometimes what they can't see. It's in them, but they're not seeing it clearly. So it's really, you know, the art of possibility is like asking, well, what if? You know,
I like that phrase.
yeah, what if?
The art of possibility.
Yeah, it's not. It's a book actually. Yeah, it's a book, and I can't remember the author's name right now. It's a husband and wife team. I believe that the husband was a conductor, you know, for an orchestra or something. But you know, it's this whole it's dealing with uncertainty in a way that, you know, yeah, you have certain tools, certain things that you can do, but for the most part, it's like opening yourself up to what's possible. Instead of, you know, most people say, you give them a suggestion and then they go, yeah, but if I do that, this will happen. How do you know that? You haven't done it yet. We haven't done anything. Yeah, but if I go and I tell him this, especially like when you're talking about like communication, like boss and, you know, thing, well, or husband, wife, or any kind of relationship, and you say, well, why don't you, you know, ask for what you want? Yeah, but if I do that, then he'll say, you know, we are like real, you know, modern day soothsayers. You know, we know exactly, you know, if I go and I say this is going to happen, and if I tell him this will happen. The possibility is, you know, just opening yourself up to that, and yeah, it's scary, you know, but so that was the whole idea behind, you know, me talking about being the Chief Possibilities Officer, because of that, you know, bringing that in. Like many times, I've had people, you know, not see what's possible for them because they're boxed into wherever, or, you know, too far, you know, removed from themselves. And everyone, like you said, is rich, you know, rich in, you know, what they're bringing to the table. You know, you know, it might be a smile. You know, there are some people like that. They come into a room and you just want to, like, hey, I want to meet that person. You know, I want to gravitate to that person, or just ways of being that we dismiss. You know, we think, well, you know, it's like, hey, that looks nice, this whole thing, but that's how we, you know, behave with our gifts. So, you know, my job really is to just shine a light, you know, to be that light, to say, here, look, look here. Have you seen this about yourself? You know, what about this? Look in this corner. Look at what about that? You know, and kind of, but it's a slow process, because just like me, you know, when you become disconnected, it's almost like, well, that is so like an alien kind of thing. You know, it's like, because it's you, right? But you've been so in this, you've been in this costume for so long, right? That actually feels unreal, but that is real, you know? So it's like going back to that realness.
Yeah, he's talking about that just yesterday in a sense, kind of not, you know, different dimension, but I was talking about to Danielle about that. I was talking about female intuition, and I saw somebody, it's a guy who posts online, one of those popular social media people, and I just wanted to say this to be clear to everybody's watching, that men have intuition too, and I very much agree with that. But I was just talking specifically to females and the female experience, and I was saying yesterday to Danielle that there is that female intuition, and I feel I feel it's kind of worldwide, and the things that are percolating right now, that it's like that it's there and you know it, but because we've been told something opposite for so long, we no longer trust it. We feel something in ourselves, right, and we know, hey, something is off here. But because the same thing you're saying, you've gone so far where you've been listening to all these voices for so long that when the impulse comes, you don't trust it, and it's so imperceptible, that little, and it becomes so soft that it's such a disconnect, and then you have to like dig your way back and just like, I think I hear a whisper, and then you have to listen to the whisper again, and then the whisper don't want to whisper to you anymore because you don't be listening, and then it scare a little voice, and then it get vexed with you, and then it come back, and so it's that whole similar. It just reminded me of that same thing I was discussing with her in terms of that returning to.
We can't outdistance what has to happen in our lives. We can't outrun it. Even if we try, I have tried. It comes back. It keeps coming back. But like you said, it keeps coming back louder and louder and louder. And sometimes, the universe gives you this huge, piece of, chaos like no other. And you're like, whoa. You have no choice. It's like, it's like something like, it's like, you have to pay attention. It's like, okay, so now I have your attention. Okay, great. Yeah. Now let's work on this. You've been avoiding. Yeah, are you ready? Yeah, because I've been avoiding this all my life. Yeah, you can't. There's a popular. I think it's Buddhist, but it's like wherever you go, there you are. Correct. You can't run away. You could change geography. You could change jobs. We do that all the time, and it's like we keep changing. You could change husband, wife, or whatever. You could, keep doing different things until you work out what you need to work out. It just keeps appearing in, another person.
Again, I read this in one of your articles as well. This is, I think, might bring up something interesting, but let's see. So I saw that somebody said that you're a master of pain, and I was wondering what it's like to be a master of pain.
Well, I talked about the experiential side to things with me, so I think that I had to go through. Oftentimes when you, have a gift or have a particular way of thinking, you want to. The human side of you is wanting to belong to something. That's a natural thing. We want to be accepted, and we want to belong. So for me, I kept looking to see, like, where else, it was being said, or the thinking was the same. I would find it in some people, but I was looking for more of a soca-fed crowd, as opposed to 2 or 3, like you have a bus party. Yeah, I was looking for that kind of validation. I did go to soca. I was looking for that kind of validation, which, I come in like 2 and 3 people. It's like, no. And so it's that, and so therefore everything was painful. When you, the fact that you stand out, you just want to blend, it's that natural tendency that I just want to blend. I don't really want to stand out. So, but the blending caused a lot of pain. You're trying to be like the not fitting in, the adopting certain personas. So, for example, when I was in school, Now I tell people this, most people laugh that I'm shy. People go, you are shy, nah. What they don't know is that, well, I have sort of, like when I came into the room and I said, hi, I'm Giselle, that's my way of sort of like, okay, let's just get that out of the way. But, basically at core, I don't particularly like huge crowds. Yes, I was at Soca, but, in my little group kind of thing. But I can't take too much stuff going on. But in school, I became the class clown. That was my way of fitting in, not wanting to be outstanding. And it was reflected in everything. I mean, my grades weren't the best. It's just like, they just kept it at a kind of level like that. And that you ask the question, I'm saying that all of those, the choice I made to blend, regardless of what stage I was in my life, it was painful. Because all the time, it's like you keep forcing yourself out, forcing yourself out, forcing yourself out. And what happens is a lot of resentment and anger builds up. Because nobody else is keeping you back, of course. This is like the ultimate fight that, Job has, with himself in the Bible. That's like the ultimate thing. People think that, you're actually fighting, you're fighting with yourself in that, yes, I want to be seen, and yet, but on the, I want to be accepted. So all of it caused immense pain, trying to be something that I wasn't. So, I mean, and then I just became, better at it. It's like, but, until you realize, well, you really don't have to go through this very painful route to get the answers. You don't have to choose, the route of pain, but I did it for many, many years, pain, anguish, repeating the patterns, not paying attention, just jumping from one out of the pot into the frying pan, one relationship to the next, doing different things that weren't in my best interest, but all I was thinking about is just being a part of, belonging. That was my overarching desire, to be connected to something, and not realizing that the gift is just, when you connect to yourself, everything kind of falls into place. It doesn't matter anymore, whether people accept or reject. But that was a big thing for me, So often it's like, I would do anything to get that acceptance, to avoid being rejected. But guess what? You get rejected anyway. So, see what I mean? It's like a sucker for pain.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the next questions that I wanted to ask, I wanted to talk about the workplace culture. I just feel like I feel like you're such a treasure trove of just insight and knowledge and useful information. But about the workplace culture, I should ask the other question before though. You said that if you could put billboards up and down the Caribbean, you would put not fitting in as your biggest asset. And two things, I wanted to know why you would put that up. And I also wondered if it's something that you would put up everywhere in the world, or if you said Caribbean for a specific reason, that there's something unique happening in this space that you feel really needs that message.
Right. So I'll answer the second part of it first. When I say Caribbean, I wanted to focus on Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean because so often we take examples from, North America, Europe, anywhere else in the world, and we sort of miss those people with stories that, and who are more like us, culturally, and so that we could relate to. So it doesn't have to be like Oprah, which is like, like being getting to meet Oprah, we seen her on TV, and yes, you kind of feel, I'll tell you something, the social media gives the illusion of this great connection. So for example, I love Suits, right? And I got really hooked on that. I can begin to tell you, like Megan and I are friends, and you know, you know what I mean? It's like, yes, this is my friend, and you know, I mean, come on, you know, all of these people, you know, on Suits, I'm now following on Instagram, right? So I feel like if I have this, but yet still, you know, the reality is that it's a chasm, you know, it's not, we really not that connected, because when I think I like something and it's just me, and you know, Sarah will see me, it's really not, that's not real. So the Caribbean is the focus, Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean. And you know, to give us more context, I want it not to be that you have to have this particular trajectory regarding success, and to say that we must all aspire to that. You know, success is however you choose to define it for yourself. So, you know, I could be, you know, there's someone I spoke to and she does all this great craft, you know, making all these intricate cards and stuff like that, Rejoy. And, you know, that to me is like, yes, you know, that's what I want people to, you know, it doesn't have to be, you know, you don't have to be a Kardashian, you don't have to have a YouTube channel, you don't have to do any of those things. You can be you. You don't need to fit in. You don't need to follow a formula. You need to devise your own formula. You need to figure out what works for you. Yes, the 4-hour work week worked for somebody else. It doesn't have to work for you. Yes, getting up early in the morning works for somebody. Yes, meditating is great. Yes, exercising is, you know, wonderful. You need to figure out time, place, when, what's best. How do I function and be so not related to it, because we are sort of like sitting down looking at people and the brain takes it in and thinks that we're actually doing stuff. You know, so we post all these memes and, you know, it's like, yeah, you know, we watch some show, you know, whether it be, you know, a reality, you know, Restaurant Impossible or whatever it is, in 1 hour, you know, we have the illusion that that's what's possible. I can make over my entire business in an hour because I've seen it on TV, you know, being done like that. We don't even realize that, okay, it's all crunched down. It's probably weeks. We have no idea. You know, you can build this log cabin in X or whatever. So the thing is, you know, it's like, when I talk about not fitting in, because remember, that's my most, you know, that was the pain producer for me in my entire life. You know, it has been the sort of key thing, whether you're talking about early childhood, teens, you know, I had a hard time. And that's it, you know, stop trying to fit in. Be yourself. And I want to have more faces of people in the Caribbean region doing that, you know, and I want to find people doing that, and I want to have them to do more of that, because I feel that that is where we can get the wealth, you know, get the innovation. You know, we go after like innovation and all of these things and creativity, like if it's some kind of like external thing that's sort of like out of reach, and you know, we try to teach people to be themselves, and in that you will see you know, the creativity, the innovation and stuff. But you're not going to get that from a workshop. You know, you can't get that from, you know, sitting in a room and somebody telling you, you know, like how to innovate.
Yes.
I think that, yeah.
I'm going to teach you how to be creative.
How to be creative.
Like, yeah. I'm going to give you a repetitive thing of how to create something new. Yeah. I mean, I think that I'm not saying that to disparage any workshops that are pegged like that, and I think it's possible to speak on different layers and different levels, and I think it's just the meaning behind it that we're trying to speak to. And obviously, once somebody has the right essence behind something like that, they can imbue the innovation and get that out to the participants. But I understand what you're speaking to, which is that it's really something in the core of everybody that needs to be unlocked. And I think that's really what you're saying. Yeah. And that, you know, the creativity is already there. It's just to unlock it and let it flourish and let it come out. So, talking about the workplace in the Caribbean and people who are doing different things and unique things and being themselves. And one of the things you said, and we were talking about this earlier as well, my team and I, you said we are never taught how to deal with emotional pain in the world of work. We are asked to leave our emotional baggage at the door as if that is possible. We are told to suck it up if we feel sad that we didn't get a promotion or chosen on a big project, and we're told that's life. And then we feel invalid about different things. And I just wanted to talk about that a little bit more. And I've watched different videos online talking about the future of work and the landscape of work on a global level. And one of the things that I saw is, and it's speaking about all that complexity, like the individual complexity. In a context like this, there's more space to interact with individual complexity. The way that work has been structured up, at least locally in large parts, and of course it's happening across the world as well, it's been structured in large parts with such rigidity that complexity has to be stripped from the individual in order for that system to work. And you really just need to create a cylindrical peg that goes into a cylindrical hole, and just keep the machine functioning. Just shave yourself down, fit into the slot, and let's keep moving. And just speaking to that and different videos that I looked at online, one of the things that one of the persons said is that they actually are seeing that large size companies will decrease in the future and give way to more smaller size companies. And when I saw it, it kind of made sense to me. Like, I could understand, again, this is kind of where you go into that vague space where there are a lot of possibilities, but you're not quite sure what's going to evolve. And when I heard it, it made sense to me because in my experience with a lot of large companies, there's a level of complexity that, and again, I only say up to my experience because it's only, my experience is limited. I have seen repeating patterns that I've not seen anybody be able to escape coming out of that largeness and those complexities, and how things, it seems to necessitate a level of simplification that reduces the individual in order for it to function. Yeah. And this, when I saw the person say that, I thought that possibility kind of made sense to me. And it's, as I said yesterday in one of the interviews, it's kind of an exploratory question, and I kind of wanted to see how that kind of melds with what your experience has been. And
well, you know, we came from, you know, in terms of transitioning from, you know, agriculture to, you know, industrial and then technology, you know, and the most complex entity is the human being. Business, you want structure, you want process, you want efficiency. Everybody sidesteps the depth of each human that is on board in that organization. Primarily because we think that it is not possible to do all of that and get the work done. I find that, you know, something to laugh at, because you think that you are doing so well, but you are not really operating efficiently from a human productivity standpoint. People are proficient, but they are not necessarily tapping into their full potential. And I'm talking at all areas, you know, I'm not just speaking, you know, in terms of, you know, lower level employees, you know, like I'm talking about, you know, middle management, you know, CEOs. People are just going through the motions. And I think that there are a lot of lies being told. what people really, when they talk about things generally, I think in the workplace, I think that there are some things that have worked. People continue to work it. Be the horse till it dead. Chances are that they may probably retire before, so they can't see the calamity that would come after they've left. They get awards and they get congratulated, and there's what I call mental masturbation. All of this kind of like everybody, it's so good, you're so great, you're so, but it's just you and you, it's like, self-telling self kind of thing, and everybody just kind of like endorsing it, and it's going along like that. But I find that the human being is sidestepped. We individuals are not respected for what they can bring to the table, but it starts first with you respecting yourself. And I think that the people who have made it through the matrix are the ones who do that. That's the difference. I don't think that they are any brighter, smarter, none of those things. I think that what they've done is they've refused to let who they are sort of die in the fullness of corporate advancement, development, and stuff. So they speak up for themselves. And so my thinking is that we have that. We need, I don't like to use should, we need to have that exploration. We need to dedicate the time. And if we don't, then we'll just keep getting more of the same.
The exploration of
each person, understanding what that person is bringing to the table. And yes, it might take time, but I think that it is an effort that you don't have to keep once you've done it,
yes.
And that person is sort of like in the groove of themselves and know you will reap far more than all the stuff that people spend money on, high turnover, lack of engagement, all of these things that we keep talking about, and productivity that's not happening. I don't believe that people are stupid or that they don't want to work or that they're lazy. All of these are broad brush things that we paint, our society with, and we say stuff like Trinidadians just this and we just this, and then Trinidad is not a real place, and I don't subscribe to any of those things. I think that not enough time, because I always tell people that to the extent Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich talks about translating that sexual energy into creativity and stuff. When people say, we so base at carnival time and stuff, I look at it as, wow, look at the potential of all of that. How creative we are, storytellers, how we are natural. Not many people in the world are like that. We are natural, sort of like comedians, storytellers.
Yes.
We tell a really good story. Yeah. And then when we go to work, we become robots.
Yeah.
And we just sort of like switch. It's just sort of like shut down as a part of yourself.
Yeah.
And you say, well, I just go in and do this. And that's where we get the Trinidadians are lazy and they don't really want to do, and they don't pay attention and they don't follow rules and all of it. But it's because we're tuned out.
Exactly.
So if more people, real leaders, could first tune into themselves, because it starts with you, and then help people to tune into themselves as a result. I think you'll be surprised at what could come out of workplaces in that respect.
Yeah.